When you first start playing Palia, one of the hardest things to figure out is what you should actually be doing with all of the items you collect. Your inventory fills up quickly with a bunch of stuff, and eventually you have to make a decision. Do you sell these items for gold, or are they something you should save for later? The problem is that Palia doesn't always make the value of an item obvious. Some resources seem important because they take time to gather, while others appear useless until a quest suddenly, without warning, requires them. Selling the wrong thing does not ruin your progress, but it can create unnecessary setbacks when you have to go back and collect materials you already had. In this video, we're going to cover how the Palia economy actually works, which items are usually safe to sell, which resources you should think twice about getting rid of, and some common mistakes that can slow down your gold making progress. The goal is not to tell you that you can never sell certain items. Almost every resource in Palia has a purpose, and your storage space, playstyle, and goals will determine what makes sense for you. Instead, this guide will help you understand the difference between items that are easy to replace and items that are better kept around, in turn, keeping more gold in your pocket. Palia's economy is built around gathering, crafting, and processing resources. Almost everything you do in the game connects back to one of these systems. Because of this, an item's value is not always determined by the amount of gold it gives you when you sell it. A resource might only sell for a small amount, but it could save you time later if you already have it stored away. On the other hand, some items are easy to gather again whenever you need them, making them much better choices for selling. Your storage should not be filled with every single thing you pick up, but it also should not be completely emptied every time you need gold. Finding a balance between keeping useful materials and selling excess items will make progression much smoother. One of the first things to understand is that not all resources have the same level of importance. Some items are used constantly throughout the game. These are materials you will need again and again for crafting, upgrades, and recipes. Other items are collected in large amounts and have limited uses. These are usually much safer to sell once you have enough saved. Early in the game, gold is usually the biggest limitation. You're unlocking basic tools, buying your first recipes, creating crafting stations, and expanding your home. During this stage, selling extra resources can be a good way to build up more quickly. Later on, your goals may change. You might be focused on decorating your plot, completing collections, leveling skills, or crafting specific items. And at that point, having certain materials available can become more valuable than the gold you would receive from selling them. This is why there's not always one perfect answer for every player. Someone who loves decorating may want to keep more crafting materials than someone who mainly focuses on quests and skill leveling. Someone who enjoys gardening may value crop storage differently than someone who spends most of their time hunting or fishing. The best approach is understanding what each resource is used for and making decisions based on your own goals. Before getting into specific items, there is one more thing to keep in mind. Avoid judging resources only by their current usefulness. In Palia, new updates can introduce new recipes, quests, furniture, and crafting requirements. An item that seems unimportant now may become useful later. That does not always mean that you need to save every single resource you collect. Storage space is limited, and holding onto everything can become just as inconvenient as selling too much. Instead, focus on keeping a reasonable supply of commonly used materials while selling things that are easy to replace or that you have collected in excess. Now that we understand how the economy works, the next step is figuring out which items you can safely turn into gold without worrying about needing them later. Items that are generally safe to sell. One of the easiest ways to build gold up in Palia is simply by selling the extra items you collect during your normal gameplay. The problem is knowing which items are truly extra and which ones you might regret getting rid of later. A good rule to follow is that items you can gather quickly and consistently are usually safer to sell, especially when you have more than what you currently need. If something is constantly appearing while you're exploring, there is usually less risk in turning your excess supply into gold. This does not mean every item in these categories should always be sold. It depends on where you are in your progression and what you're currently working toward. But for most players, these are some of the better options when you need to clear storage or make some extra money. And the first one is common fish and bugs. Fishing and bug catching are two of the easiest activities to accidentally overwhelm your storage with. As you explore different areas of Palia, you'll collect plenty of common fish and insects, and keeping every single one is usually unnecessary. If you're not currently working on a collection, a quest, or a bundle that requires a specific bug or fish, extra common catches are often good candidates for selling. This is especially true for items you've collected in large quantities. Keeping a few examples of different catches can be useful, but there's usually no reason to store several stacks of common fish unless you have a specific plan for them. One thing to keep in mind is that starred versions of fish and bugs have additional uses. Some players like keeping them for displays, achievements, or collections, so it can be worth separating the ones you want to save before selling the rest. A simple way to manage this is to decide what you personally want to keep and treat everything else as extra. Number 2 is excess forageables. Now, foraging is another activity that naturally creates a lot of extra items. Many of these items are useful, but you usually don't need to keep unlimited amounts. For example, if you already have a comfortable supply of common forageable and your current crafting projects do not require more, selling the extras can be a good way to earn gold without spending additional time on a money-making activity. The important thing is to not empty your storage completely. Before selling forageables, it's a good idea to check whether they are used in cooking recipes, crafting recipes, quests, bundles, or furniture or decorative items. A quick check before selling can save you from having to gather the items again later. Number 3 is extra crops. Gardening is one of the more reliable ways to earn gold in Palia, but it's also easy to keep more crops than you actually need. When you first start farming, it can be tempting to save everything because crops are useful for cooking and future planting and gifting. However, once you have a steady garden, you will usually have more produce than you can realistically use. Selling extra crops is a simple way to create a consistent income. But before selling, consider keeping crops that you regularly use for cooking, crops needed for quests or bundles, and seeds if you plan on expanding your garden. Anything beyond what you need can usually be turned into gold. Another option is processing crops instead of selling them immediately. Depending on the crop and your goals, using machines like preserve jars can increase their value. However, if you need quick gold or you don't want to manage processing, selling extra crops is still a reasonable choice. During normal gameplay, you will gather large amounts of basic materials like wood, stone, and other common resources. These materials are useful, especially early on, but they can also build up very quickly. If your storage is full of basic materials and you're no longer using them for current crafting projects, selling some of your excess can help create space. However, it's usually better to sell overflow rather than your entire supply. When deciding what to sell, the biggest question is not always, how much gold does this give me? A better question is, how difficult will this be to get again? Items that are consistently available while you play are usually safer choices. Items that require specific locations, rare spawns, or a lot of preparation are usually worth holding on to. Selling your extra fish, bugs, forageables, crops, and duplicate items can create a steady flow of gold without hurting your progress. Knowing what to sell and what to keep is only part of managing your gold. There are also several habits that can make earning and spending money much more difficult than it needs to be. One common mistake is selling items without checking whether they have a higher value use. Many resources can be sold immediately, but others become much more profitable after being processed. For example, turning materials into crafted items, cooking certain foods, or using processing machines can increase their value. This does require more time and resources, so it's not always the best option if you need quick money, but understanding the difference between raw materials and finished products can help you make better choices. Another mistake is spending gold without considering what will help your progression the most. Palia has a lot of things to spend money on, and it can be tempting to buy everything as soon as it becomes available. Furniture, decorations, recipes, and cosmetic items are all part of what makes the game enjoyable, but balancing those purchases with upgrades and useful unlocks can make progression easier. Before spending large amounts of gold, consider what will improve your gameplay. Will this purchase help you gather resources faster? Will it unlock a new way to earn money? Will it make crafting easier? Or is it something you simply want because you enjoy having it? There's nothing wrong with spending gold on things you enjoy. Palia is a game about creating your own experience, but the important part is understanding your priorities. There's no single perfect way to make gold in Palia. Different activities work better for different players, and the best method is usually the one that you enjoy enough to keep doing. Here are just a few of the best ways to make gold in Palia. Gardening. This one can provide consistent income over time, crops can be processed to earn more gold, and starred seeds can go for a very hot dollar. And then we have fishing and hunting, which can provide valuable items while exploring. Items can and should be processed to maximize gold, and fast respawns, so there are no wait times. You can also just switch servers if it's easier. And then there's mining, which is my favorite. This is the easiest and cheapest way to earn gold, in my opinion. We can collect gemstones at the same time for extra earning potential and somewhat fast respawns, but you can also just switch servers. And then we have bug catching. Now, this is one of the best ways to earn gold, but honey lures may set you back. You can process silk thread into silk, which is worth a ton in large quantities, and slower spawn times, but switching servers can also fix this. The important thing is creating a routine that works for you. Instead of constantly selling everything you collect, try to build a balance between earning gold and maintaining your supplies. Keep materials you use often, sell items that are easy to replace, process resources when it makes sense, and avoid spending all of your gold without a plan. Over time, these small decisions will add up. Managing the economy in Palia is not about finding one secret item to sell or one perfect way to make money. It's about understanding the value of the resources you collect and making choices that support the way you enjoy playing. If you're constantly running out of space, start by looking at things you have collected in large quantities. If you're constantly short on gold, look for items you can safely sell without slowing down your progress. The best economy is one that works for your playstyle. By knowing what resources are worth keeping, what items are safe to sell, and how to avoid common spending mistakes, you can spend less time worrying about your inventory and more time enjoying everything Palia has to offer. And that is it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.